One that could support me, and the food is important to treatment of my diabetes. And it's already bad enough because I have food allergies and ailments. I have to spend money on food products that I can eat that won't affect my diabetes. And my funds for my food stamps are already so low that I am forced to eat gluten and dairy because it's cheaper. Jessica's story. Jessica recently received an eviction notice, so the news that there will be no November SNAP benefits added to the immense stress she is already feeling. Jessica's benefits are typically refilled in the middle of the month. As of yesterday, she only had $40 left. She is worried about making it to mid-November with just the $40. So the prospect now of having to make it an additional month until mid-December with just $40 seems impossible. The average monthly SNAP benefit for a family of 4 in Maine is $572. According to the USDA, the moderate food plan for a family of 4 costs $1,300 a month. That means every month there is already a $727 gap that people need to put food on their table in order to survive. Well, today's grand opening of the Preble Street Food Security Hub will increase food access in Maine. No food security hub can replace SNAP. We are asking the administration to use contingency reserves, billions of dollars that Congress provided for use when SNAP funding is inadequate, that remain available during the shutdown to fund November benefits for the 12.5% of Mainers, 12.5% of your neighbors who need SNAP to afford their grocery bill this month. Thank you. I have the pleasure of introducing Representative Shelley Pingree, who has been a longtime champion of SNAP benefits in the U.S. House of Representatives and has been a longtime friend to Preble Street. Representative Pingree.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Thank you so much for bringing us all together here, and I know there's going to be some incredible speakers who are working with these issues and have been great advocates as well. But let me just say a few things about the politics of this. As you know, I have the great privilege of serving in Congress, and I've worked on agriculture and the Farm Bill and a variety of these issues for a long time. And one of the things that really shocked me when I got to Congress and saw the negotiations that happen every 5 years around the Farm Bill was that food and SNAP benefits was going to be such a contentious item, because in my opinion, when you live in the wealthiest country in the world, you shouldn't worry about, you shouldn't fight about, and you shouldn't make a political struggle out of whether people deserve to be fed every single day. It should be a basic right in our country. The most recent numbers I had here, it was about 12.5%, about 175,000, and it's probably a little higher right now, Mainers get help from SNAP. And while you heard about how much you get a month, it's really just about $6 a day. So try to imagine that. They've done some exercises at times where they asked members of Congress to live a week on the value of SNAP benefits. And you can imagine most members of Congress run out after their first cup of coffee in the morning. Haven't really thought about how this impacts somebody every day, how you feed yourself on that much money. Of the 174,000 members, 36,000 of them are children. Children who need to be well fed, to do well in school, to do well in preschool, to grow and develop in the way that we know is healthy for them. 6,300 veterans who have served our country who are benefiting from SNAP benefits, and about 25,000 of the households in this district. So a lot of Mainers depend on SNAP. A lot of them And for so many people, and I know you're going to hear more about this, they've already gone to work at 1 or 2 jobs, but they're just trying to make sure they have enough money to put food on the table. And in this very difficult time that we're in now, where there are already stresses and strains on everything that people do, they're paying high housing costs. They're worried about their health care costs going up in November, or maybe the future Medicaid cuts that are coming in. They're thinking about their child care costs. And food is just one of the most challenging things that they have to deal with every day, particularly with rising grocery store prices. So I'm just here to say that this is unconscionable, that we have already made huge cuts to SNAP in the big ugly bill. So it's already coming this way, that states like Maine are going to have to pay a greater burden, that we've already changed some of the eligibility of who can get SNAP benefits, that we've already taken away SNAP education, and we've got great nutritionists here who've been working in that program, a vital service to people figuring out how do I make ends meet with food I might be unfamiliar with or with less expensive food. And now we have the threat from this administration that as of November 1st, you're not going to get any SNAP benefits at all. And you know there are people right now saying, but I'm down to 1 week. I can't stretch this week into the next month. I can't keep stretching the money that I've got. So you've got people saying, I don't know how I'm going to make it. I just want to be clear about one thing. We are not losing SNAP benefits across the country because of the shutdown, although the government is shut down and it makes things more complicated. We're losing them because this administration has decided they're not going to give SNAP benefits to people. This administration has already decided who they will pay and not pay, what essential services will continue to be funded, who's going to be a furloughed worker, who's going to be an essential worker. And as you've heard, at the USDA, there is $5 billion in reserves right now. They need about $8 billion a month. So they need to find that last 3. Okay, let's just be clear. They found $20 billion to send to the country of Argentina. Don't even get me started. But they sent $20 billion. There's all kinds of money that's been moving around, and they're going to build a multi-hundreds of millions of dollar ballroom on the White House that they started tearing down the East Wing for this week. So there is money available. It can be moved. There's even a precedent for continuing to do this. I see, is that Kevin Kincannon over there? Oh my God. Wow. I see the sainted Kevin Kincannon. Oh my gosh. The man who taught us all in the state of Maine, but then also at the USDA, how to fight back on SNAP benefits and how to get good nutrition to people. Thank you very, very much for all of your service. But as you know, when there are reserves sitting there, they are there to make sure that we have a contingency fund for this. There is money that gets moved around at USDA all the time. They're very likely to put together a $12 billion package to help the soybean farmers who have been harmed by the tariffs in China and the sales from Argentina to China. So all things you don't need to know, but the fact is there is money there. We can do this any day of the week. But the idea that they are striking fear into families right now, that they are telling states, don't even send us your files because we're not going to prepare them for the EBT transfers, is unconscionable. In the wealthiest country in the world, that we would strike fear into people's families, and we would say to all the people you're going to hear about today and all the people who are out there figuring out what am I going to do next month, and that we would put the pressure on these food banks because it takes about 10 meals, 9 meals at a food bank to make up for 1 meal. It's about the equivalent of 9 meals served at a food bank to make up 1 meal. So the pressure on these food banks would be catastrophic. There is not enough food here. There is not enough canned goods in your pantry to donate for every person in this state that's going to go hungry, and it's just not possible to do. So we cannot let this stand. We have to fight back and just say, this isn't because of the shutdown. This is because an administration is choosing to do this. And we as Mainers are going to say no, and I hope states across the country will just say, no, we're not going to let you do that. Not on my time. So thank you very much. We'll continue to fight back.
Thank you, Representative Pingree, for those words. I'd like to introduce the Heather Paquette, the CEO of Good Shepherd Food Bank, to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Terrence. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to come together as a community and talk about this crisis. I use that word very deliberately. As Terrence mentioned, I have the privilege of being the president of Good Shepherd Food Bank of Maine. We take our responsibility as being the Feeding America food bank for the state of Maine extremely seriously every day. And today we take it more seriously than ever and are very scared for our community and the people in Maine. with the pending outcome of November 1st SNAP benefits not being issued to people for the state of Maine. If I can offer a quick overview of how food banking works. There are 199 Feeding America food banks in our nation. Most states have multiple. Maine has one, which is Good Shepherd Food Bank. We do all of our work through partnerships, and we partner with over 600 emergency food network organizations, food pantries, meal sites, school pantries, and healthcare practices to source and distribute 50 million pounds of food from Fort Kent to Kittery, serving 191,000 people in Maine experiencing food insecurity. Within that number is 50,000 children. Maine currently has the highest rate of childhood food insecurity in New England. We are experiencing unprecedented rates of hunger that are growing at a pace that are so fast that we can't quite capture it to be ready to address it. Before a measure that we count on every day that's been a stable, predictable source of food security measures provided by our government is put at risk. If I could explain to you how food security tools work in a state working aggressively towards having a food secure state, we count on government funding to provide an important safety net to people in the state of Maine experiencing or at risk of food insecurity, those 174,000 people that you heard about today. If I can offer a visual, that safety net comes first. So the Emergency Food Network, which is our pantry partners, exists as a last resort after that safety net has been exhausted. And that provides us a manageable amount of work, which is getting harder by the day, for us to serve after those safety nets have been exhausted. If we remove SNAP, we remove a very important safety net that gives an unmanageable amount of work to the Emergency Food Network that we are not built for, we're not prepared for, and at this point on October 24th, we would be running at an unrealistic pace to address that increased need. If I can explain to you what that looks like. We are hearing from partner agencies that they are already seeing lines grow from 30 to 50% more than the lines that they were serving 1 short month ago, before those SNAP cuts go into place. Pantry directors are needing to make an impossible decision, such as limiting visits to the pantry or restricting zip codes, which is an incredibly difficult decision that they should not be needing to make. When we add SNAP benefit cuts, they will now be looking at an additional 170,000 people needing to access food with less than a week's notice from today in their lines that are already growing beyond a manageable amount. I implore everyone who can be our ally right now to be our ally right now in helping us tell the story that the Emergency Food Network in Maine cannot address the increased need that will happen if SNAP benefits are not issued November 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Heather. Thank you, Heather, for those words. I'd like to introduce now Representative Ann Graham, a representative from Falmouth.
North Yarmouth and Gray.
North Yarmouth and Gray, proudly. Representative Graham has been a long advocate. She's a member of the Health and Human Services Committee, and she has been a friend of Preble Street's for years. And so welcome her to take the mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Terrence. Thank you to all of you being here. I first want to say congratulations on this awesome Preble Street Food Hub. You are amazing. I have to say that I got to know Preble Street about 15 years ago. I served in the legislature then, and I asked some of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to come and help serve in the food pantry, serve lunch. And several of them did, and I remember the kitchen. Guys, remember the kitchen. It was small, it was difficult, and I am blown away by this kitchen that you have created. It is absolutely amazing. I'm honored to be here, particularly at this time. Every day, every moment, it becomes more important that we find a way to feed our fellow Mainers. I am Representative Annie Graham, and I do serve the people of North Yarmouth and Gray. I want you to know that I and my colleagues are listening, and we're working to feed Mainers in the entire state. I had the honor of being the prime sponsor of LD 415, a hunger prevention bill also known as Mainers Feeding Mainers. I want to thank Amy Sasse and Heather Paquette for asking me to carry this bill. It passed in committee unanimously, and in the House unanimously, and in the Senate unanimously, and it is currently sitting on the appropriations table. It is my hope that we will fund it as soon as possible. Again, it becomes so important every day as we see these draconian cuts coming from the administration. I serve on the Health and Human Services Committee, and every day my empathy grows. I can't begin to imagine what it feels like to open my fridge or my cupboard and see it empty. What it feels like to not be able to feed my children. I have been volunteering for several years at the Gray Food Pantry. I will always remember a young mom pulling up in a beat-up van in tears. She was mortified that she couldn't afford to feed her children. Can you imagine, each one of you, stop and think what it must feel like to not be able to feed your child? I can't. Too many people think not having food doesn't affect them or their families, but it does. And as Mark said previously, every human being deserves dignity, and they deserve to be fed and to be nourished. It is a moral imperative. Today, I feel hopeful. I know during these difficult times, that's really hard. I want to thank you all for stepping up every day to help your fellow human beings. I hope you will leave here today with a renewed commitment to feed Mainers with a smile on your face. Again, I'm honored to be here. Congratulations to Preble Street, and quite simply, you rock.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Representative Graham, for those comments. And finally, I would like to introduce Anna Corson. Anna is the Deputy Director of Full Plates and Full Potential, but today she's representing Hunger Free Maine, a coalition of agencies and groups working to fighting ending hunger. I'd invite all those membership organizations to stand with Anna as she delivers remarks for Hunger Free Maine. Thank you.
Stand close because it's cold. It's freezing.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Anna Corson, Deputy Director with Full Plates, Full Potential, and a member of the Hunger Free Maine Coalition. It's an honor to be here today to celebrate the grand opening of the Preble Street Food Security Hub. To Mark and the entire team, congratulations on this incredible achievement. You've built something that will truly change lives in our community, a place where Mainers in need can find hope and dignity in the face of hunger. Today, as you've heard, 1 in 8 Mainers, including 1 in 5 children, don't have consistent access to food. 1 out of 5. I'm incredibly thankful that a place like the Food Security Hub exists to help our community in a time of need. But Maine is in a hunger crisis. And let me be clear, hunger is growing, and it is an intentional policy choice. Organizations like Preble Street and the partners who fill this Food Security Hub with action and care are doing heroic work. But they cannot meet the growing demand or carry this burden. Emergency food providers should be the last line of defense against hunger, not the first. For decades, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, has proven to be the most effective anti-hunger program we have. It helps put food on the table for over 170,000 Mainers. And it's an economic driver, supporting rural communities in Maine and generating $1.50 for every dollar in SNAP spent. Farmers rely on it, grocers rely on it, businesses and communities rely on it. Families, kids, older adults, and working people rely on it. And right now, because of the ongoing federal government shutdown and the administration's unwillingness to release emergency funds, the USDA has instructed states not to issue November SNAP benefits. For hundreds of thousands of Maine families, that means their grocery budgets could vanish overnight. They will have to decide whether to pay rent or buy food, pick up their prescriptions or buy food, put gas in the car to get to school or work, or buy food. And even after making those impossible choices, people in every community will go hungry and lose even more financial stability. This is more than a temporary crisis. It's a preview of what's to come as a result of H.R. 1, the federal administration's budget reconciliation bill. In exchange for extending tax breaks for billionaires, the federal government cut billions in funding for SNAP and Medicaid, shifting the cost of benefits to the state of Maine for the first time in SNAP's history. Unless Maine can find a way to cover the cost or reduce the penalties, hundreds of thousands of Mainers will once again face an uncertain future long after the shutdown has ended, one with bare tables and empty plates. This is unacceptable, but it's not inevitable. There are clear actions that our policymakers on both sides of the aisle can and must take to protect our communities. Open the government. Fulfill your legal obligations and ensure SNAP benefits are distributed to those in need. And if this can't be done, to our members of Congress, we ask you to stand up for your constituents. Demand that the USDA release the existing contingency funds to cover a portion of November's benefits and reassure states that they will be reimbursed if they pick up your tab to fill the gap. And to our state policymakers, know that this is only a dress rehearsal for what's to come. Without a federal plan or commitment to fund SNAP, our elected officials in Maine must be prepared to meet the basic needs of Mainers and ensure people don't go hungry on our watch. It is unacceptable for children, seniors, and families to go hungry due to a failure in leadership. If our members of Congress refuse to act, it's time to return to the State House. Call for a special session and address this impending hunger crisis head-on. Hunger shouldn't be up for debate. The Food Security Hub shows us what's possible when we come together, when we refuse to accept hunger as inevitable. Let's take that same spirit to Augusta, to Washington, and to every corner of our state. Congratulations again to everyone at Preble Street. You're standing up in the face of hunger, and I urge our policymakers and those in power to do the same. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Anna. And that concludes our press conference. I ask everyone here who has heard this message to be an ally with us and to contact members of the House, the Senate, both at the national as well as state level. Thank you and have a great day. This is over.